Damascus Encounter is the program, and we have been discussing with our special guest on the program today, Johnny Odeh. He has shared a bit of his background, how he got raised and trained to be a priest in the Catholic Seminary, and then the big bombshell and the turnaround where he felt, oh, if a priest is going to end up being like this, I would have nothing to do with it. And Johnny turned away from the Catholic faith. So, Johnny, welcome back on the program.
Thank you very much.
Left the seminary and you decided to become who and what?
Okay, so I went to the university. I wanted to study law, which was my second option.
Okay.
Fortunately, when I enrolled, I wrote my JAM, got a very good score, even as at the time, 262, which was great for law.
Quite
So
good.
when I applied for University of Abuja, the law wasn't accredited. And I didn't want to make a mistake of studying law and then coming out and then the course is not accredited. I have to wait and all that. So I had already wasted some time, so I felt I needed to catch up and get done. And then I decided to take Benue State University as a second option, which the only available option for me was to study languages and communication, which was linguistics and communication, which I did. And studying linguistics, it just builds upon my writing skills, my movie making skills and all that. So it upped it for me, and then right on campus, I made a movie. Even on campus, I made a film in one night that was still very much appreciated.
So you made a movie as a university undergraduate?
Undergraduate, yes.
So movie making somehow takes a lot of money.
Yes.
So how did you get funding?
Well, it was a very low budget film. It was, we used a camera, and then the creativity in it, we had to manage so well that it came out, you wouldn't believe it was just a camera and then the equipment and all. But it was so beautiful, it was out of stock.
So what was the push? What was the catch? Why did you think, or why did you feel that you had to make a movie? Was it part of the course requirements, or this is just the Johnny, the writer, the drama person, now wanting to make movies?
Okay, after the whole thing, I told myself, a lot of people keep telling me, you have this calling, you have this calling. Why are you not yielding to the word of God? I would, in my quest to find a church.
Calling to be a priest?
To be either a pastor or something.
Okay.
And then I attended a church, and then the pastor told me, you, stand up, what church do you pastor? I said, I don't pastor a church. You mean you are not a pastor? I'm not a pastor. How come while I was praying, I saw this glow around your head? And that is a sign that you're called. I don't know about it, sir. I know I was a seminarian, and then I pulled out. Yes, I knew something. There was something about you. And then I told myself, if I wasn't going to be on the altar to preach, I should be able to I make advocacy films. I make godly films, films that will tell you about the love of God, films that will tell you about the changes you need to make to build a relationship with God. So I branded myself as a movie evangelist, and I shortened it. If you see most of my films, you will see Movangelism. So it's more like a movie evangelism I was doing.
So from a Catholic priest, you became a Movangelist.
Yes.
Meaning that you had to make movies
To evangelize. Yes.
So
Yes.
in one night.
Yes.
Was that a Christian movie, or?
It was a Christian movie. It's either they are Christian movies or they are advocacy movies teaching you about morality.
So why Christian movies? Is it just a play off from your Catholic background, the priesthood thing, or because why make Christian movies when you could make movies that would sell and make you more popular in Nigeria?
Yeah, like I said, I just wanted a way to work for God.
So it was all about God.
It was all about God for me. That's the reason I wouldn't make a secular film that is talking romance, talking this, talking that. No. I would make movies that will drive your relationship with God further. A movie that will teach you about moral behavior, things that are acceptable by society, things that you should do to build you up, and not just a movie fantasy about love or that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to go in the direction of advocating for God and for humanity.
So, in all, how many movies has Johnny Odeh produced?
So far, I'm not this kind of, jump at. I take my time. So over time, I've been able to make about 5 movies that are to my name.
5 movies to your name, and so the very first movie is the One Night.
In One Night.
In
yeah.
One Night.
Yes.
So, and the next one was what?
The next one was a local movie, an epic that I made for my people. There was this conflict about 2 people, and I tried to create a movie about unity.
Okay.
And I made that. It was called Akpabana. That was my second movie, and that was like my major movie.
Okay, so now tell me a little bit about your becoming a Seventh-day Adventist and the major movie you made that has bearing with Adventism.
Okay. You see, while all these things were going on in my life, I never heard about the Seventh-day Adventists. And I never knew that there were some people in Nigeria who actually worship on Sabbath. I never knew because I grew up with the fact that Sabbath was Sunday. And then I tried my best, tried looking around to find a church where I can actually build myself. And then I went to different churches. I didn't find satisfaction. Some of the questions were still not answered, especially the day of worship. And in the midst of this, there were times I wished I went to Israel to worship on Sabbath with the Jews. I wished for that. I never knew about the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
So was it that something about the Sabbath? Because in the seminary, whilst in the seminary, you asked a question about how come they remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy is the third.
It's the third.
In the catechism, yet it is the 4th in the Bible.
In the Bible.
But at that point, you didn't have reasons to question the day of worship, did you?
I did.
At that time?
Of course I did, yes.
So you knew it was supposed to be Saturday?
I knew they will teach you it was supposed to be Saturday.
Actually
You
in the
will
seminary?
be taught, yes. You will be taught that the Sabbath is actually the Saturday. But because of the resurrection of Christ, which was on Sunday, the Sabbath was moved to honor the resurrection of Christ. And I said, this is not biblical. There were still apostles of Christ who were still keeping the Sabbath in the New Testament. So at what point did this change happen? It was part of the questions they wouldn't want to hear.
Okay. And you carried that question in your mind for some time.
Yes.
And you kept looking for exactly how to find an answer to it.
An answer to my questions.
So how did you now get that question answered?
Well, in the course of time, I went to several churches. I tried, and then I just get there and I'm like, oh, come on. When am I going to find where I will find peace? It is either the mode of worship. I don't like noise. I don't like too many jamboree kind
ecstasy,
of. Yes,
worship.
I don't, especially in the house of God. And those were the things that pushed me out of the places that I went. And then in 2012, you know, after the whole leaving the Catholic Church, I had little fallout with my family.
Okay.
There was no much attention to me again because I was like a stray sheep out of the family. And then they were not comfortable with me. But there was this brother of mine who had traveled out. He was in South Africa at the time. And then he was already an Adventist. But I didn't know about that until 2012 when I came to Babcock University. And then he called me in 2012, there is something I want you to know. By then, I was already hearing about the Sabbath since getting into Babcock.
Okay.
The Sabbath, and then I watch people on Friday evening, everybody's returning home, everybody's preparing for Sabbath, and then there is this one, and I'm
Everything
wondering,
was quiet.
yes, what is this thing? No, but one thing that attracted me when I got to Babcock was the humility that I see. In my how many years in the university, I never saw my VC with my eyes. And then here, someone just passed me and then they're telling me that is the VC. And I'm like, what? The VC will walk and just pass like that? And then in the church, you're sitting next to the VC. And then I'm seeing everyone is equal. There was that element of humility. And who are these people? The discipline, when I got in here, there is a place where you can actually drink water and not litter the floor. There is a place where you can actually come into and not have someone stand there and urinate in public. And I'm like, who are these organized people? I've been to other universities. I've been to places. How come I'm just seeing this kind of organized set of people? That was what drew my attention until that call came. It was already arousing my curiosity until that call came.
From your brother?
My brother, and then he said, have you heard about the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
Did he know you were in Babcock University?
He didn't
at
know.
the time? Okay.
He never knew that.
Okay.
And then I'm like, Seventh-day Adventist Church. He said, yeah. I said, I am. Do you know Babcock University? I'm inside Babcock University. He didn't even know about Babcock University. And then he's like, I said, yes, it is a Seventh-day Adventist Church University. And he was like, oh my God, it was God that took you there. It was God that took you there. I've been thinking of how to tell you about this thing. And then that word, it was God that took you there, kept on ringing in my head. Though before then, I was already attending worship in a very lax way, not very sure, just like testing the waters with one leg. But after that call, it just registered in my mind like, hey, this might just be God that brought me here. Because the circumstances around my getting into Babcock, it wasn't a town that I thought I would ever find myself. And then getting there, I started going along. The hymn, the quiet, the solemn worship just attracted me. And then above all, the fact that I have to rush, prepare on Friday evening, stay indoors, calm, and wait for the Sabbath day
to set in.
And then you find people observing the Sabbath in a manner I have never experienced in my life before. Even if Sunday were to be Sabbath, the whole jamboree, the whole here and there, it doesn't make it look like a holiday. So seeing this kind of place where you're finding people and everything is quiet, you return to your home and then you're quiet. It just
get ready for the Sabbath.
Exactly. It just hits me. And when I listen to that hymn from Friday night till Sunday morning, you would know that there is a channel that has been missing. And then it just puts you in the mood for worship the next day.
It felt heavenly.
It felt heavenly, and it didn't feel like I was making a mistake at the time.
Okay, so you made the right decision. You're beginning to see that you were in the right place, yet there was so much more to explore, and we'll come to talk about that after this timeout. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Damascus Encounter, and we have been sharing with Johnny Odeh, who has had a tremendous journey on his Christian walk from the seminary to becoming a movie evangelist, or what he calls Movangelist. And somehow, leaving the seminary, Johnny found his way to Babcock University, where he tasted what it feels like to be a Seventh-day Adventist, to worship on Sabbath days, and to experience what the Sabbath hours was like. So Johnny, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
And you've talked about how you felt drawn quietly and in a very subtle way, enjoying your every little experience at Babcock University, which drew you also to start going to church. One leg in, one leg out, but observing. So at some point you decided to become Seventh-day Adventist. Do you want to share a little bit about your experience getting
Well,
baptized?
yes. When I started going to church, I decided, okay, let me make it an every Sabbath worship. And then I started every Sabbath. I was very satisfied each time I left church. And then I told myself, okay, maybe I should get baptized. Before then, I told myself, if you ever make the decision to get baptized in this church, that is where you will be.
No turning back.
No turning back. And then my brother and I, we discussed a lot. So we'll talk about things and then share ideas. And I saw that this guy was becoming much more enlightened in the Word of God. He is an artist. He doesn't even behave like he would believe in God. And then I find my brother sharing deep things with me. And I'm like, how did he learn all this? Is it still the same church? And then I realized the lesson study, a lot of things that would open your eyes, Revelation seminar, Daniel seminar. And I'm like, okay, I didn't even know about this. It was so bad I didn't know that Angel Michael is Jesus. In the Catholic Church, Angel Michael is an angel just like Angel Gabriel.
Gabriel and the
They
rest.
refer to him as the archangel. There is a prayer. Saint Michael the archangel, defend us in the day of battle. Those kind of prayers. So we thought Angel Michael was different. Something like that I didn't even know. So in 2013, I decided to get baptized. It was the happiest day of my life.
Did you take some Bible studies before that?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a man attached to me, Pastor Eliazar Ofomba, great man, taught me a lot.
Okay.
And then I was booked for baptism. It was wonderful. Dipping my head in the waters, it felt like, yes, something actually left me. Even though I have a little problem with getting under the water,
Okay.
I had to bear it. And it was wonderful. I have not regretted since then. The Sabbath fascinates me a lot. And then I started learning deeply more into the Sabbath and all that, keeping how important that day is. I thought it was just a day you keep and then it passes. I never knew that that day is tied in some sort of way to how godly you are even perceived. And then I started going into it, and this made me to learn a lot about the Sabbath. And I said, hey, I can't just learn this alone. I need to let people hear this. How best can I let people hear this? And then I put a lot of those answers I got, I put them together and decided to make a movie called A Day to Remember.
Okay, A Day to Remember. That's your movie that specifically is focused on the Sabbath.
Yes.
And so you made the movie.
Yes.
And what was it all about?
Well, the movie touched a little bit of my life experience when I got to Babcock Ground.
Okay.
It was about a young man who lost his job and then wanted to get a job. And then this job he wanted to get it required that he worked on Sabbath days. And then being someone who had actually got the knowledge of the Sabbath, he decided, I can't go back to where I came from. I've known the truth about the Sabbath. I want to remain with that truth. And this guy kept on looking for jobs. He was suffering. He was getting good jobs, but because the jobs required that he worked during Sabbath hours, he wouldn't take it. Part of the experiences I had. And then he kept on believing that one day things will happen. And somehow God visited him at the end of the day.
So A Day to Remember, it's practically your experience and how eventually your decision to help many more learn about the Sabbath. And so how successful would you say this has been, your experience having made that movie and people seeing the movie? What would the feedback, how would you describe it? Do you feel fulfilled? I need to do more, or this needs to be pushed more and more and more?
In some sort of way I feel fulfilled, but I feel the movie could even go out, farther. Right now, I'm deciding maybe I need to repackage, remake the movie in a way that it will reach a wider audience. I was happy one day when a pastor called me, Pastor Odeh. I respect him so much. I love him so much. He called me and he said, I just got a call from, was it Ile-Ife or so?
Okay.
And someone just got baptized watching A Day to Remember.
Wow.
It was one of the happiest days of my life. I'm like, and I shared this movie to every member of my family. There is no question you want to ask about the Sabbath because I got it from a book written by a Seventh-day Adventist. And then, is it something about the mirror or something? I can't remember the particular book. And all the questions you would ask about the Sabbath were all answered. And I could remember that day how I screamed in my room, wow! This is a movie.
So fulfilled.
Yes.
That something has happened.
Has happened. And then I picked up my Bible and then I started writing that. God inspired me. In a matter of days, I was done scripting that film.
Very interesting. So now, because of time, let's just look at some of your experiences post-Adventist, becoming Adventist now. So how would you describe being a Seventh-day Adventist? Has it been all rosy, all excitement, and all what have you?
Well, there are challenges. It has been fantastic, spiritually speaking.
Okay.
But you sometimes you get in there and then you begin to see some things that alienate you kind of. Like I could hear some people when I meet some people and then like, oh, are you an Adventist? I'm like, yeah, I'm an Adventist. Are you a born Adventist? And then I'm like, oh, there is a category where I have to belong. There are those who were claiming to be born Adventists, and here I am, a converted Adventist. But trust me, there was a day I sat in my room. It touched me so much that someone said, oh, I'm a born Adventist. And I could see the pride in that. But I think it was spirit inspired. And I stayed in my room one day. I said, hey, you made a decision to be a Seventh-day Adventist. You did not follow the default setting. You did not follow the upbringing. You made a personal decision to be an Adventist. So it wasn't because your parents are Adventists. It wasn't because of what you met. It was a decision you took. And that is big enough. And that gave me the consolation like, hey, you don't have to look at that.
And you don't have to be born Adventist.
You don't have to be a born Adventist to be an Adventist, to be a Christian.
To be happy being an Adventist.
An Adventist. So,
interesting. So if we were, by way of winding down now, you've become Seventh-day Adventist, your father is dead now, but your mom is still alive.
Yeah.
So family members, those who are non-Seventh-day Adventists, the same Johnny who was supposed to be a priest. So how did they look at you? How did they look at you?
My mom is amazed at the kind of person I am. She trusts me so much. She has seen that the fact that I wasn't a Catholic priest has not derailed me from godliness. So she has that respect. And each time we encounter, though we are far apart now, but it has been the decision of we are about 3 Adventists in the family now.
Out of 18?
Well, some of them have passed on already.
Oh, okay.
So we have been talking to her, and trust me, she's beginning to ask some questions about the Catholic Church already.
All right.
My mom would never attend any other church apart from the Catholic Church. My mom breaks out of that already. And trust me, in a very short while, she will become an Adventist. Because the message already, there are certain food she doesn't eat already from our health policies. There are certain things she doesn't take anymore.
So share with me a little bit. What was her feeling when she watched The Day to Remember?
Well, my mom is not so well educated.
Okay.
But when she watched A Day to Remember, maybe her emotions ran out. She cried for the young man. And then she's like, Just take the job. You can still go to church and blah, 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 blah. I said, Mom, if you know the value of that day. And I told her when the movie finished, I said, you see, he stood his ground and God has even blessed him. He did not just bless him, he converted even the boss that was insisting he should work on Sabbath. So that is how much. And I told her, the 7-day worship is not something that a man just declares. It's something that God declared.
Heaven ordained.
So gradually, as we speak, it's beginning to penetrate. And I believe the Holy Spirit will finish the conversion.
We'll finish the job
with her,
most
by
certainly.
the grace of God.
Yeah, so Johnny, it's been an exciting journey with you on your journey with Christ. This is what the Damascus encounter is all about, where you set out on a course and Jesus steps in. Johnny all along was born again. He had given his life to God, ready to serve God. He went into the seminary and was prepared to be a priest. But then he felt a little bit repelled with things that he saw in the Catholic Church. Gradually and steadily, God led him to becoming a Seventh-day Adventist. He has even made a movie, A Day to Remember, in honor of the Sabbath. That same question he had always wanted to ask. And this is the point where I ask the question, what is your story? What's your experience? Perhaps you want to share with us, or you like also to showcase what the Lord has done for you, traveling on a course and Jesus stepping in, and then it's a brand new experience altogether. That's where we'll wrap it up on today's edition of the program, the Damascus Encounter. And until we come your way again, I say stay blessed and keep having an encounter with Jesus.